pull up a chair, take out the oxygen, and join the discussion.
You've just stepped into Life Unculturable,
the world where conversations grow faster than colonies.
We're your hosts, Sam and Julia, scientists by day,
podcasters by night,
and professional oxygen avoiders 24/7. Join us in exploring the science of microbes that thrive in the absence of oxygen on Life Unculturable.
Hello and welcome to the next episode of Life Unculturable. And today we have a very special guest with us today. You might have read his name on all of our LinkedIn posts, but today you're going to hear his voice as well. Today we're going to welcome Dr. Michael Prattes to our podcast.
Yeah, folks. So that person that Julia's talking about is definitely not me. You've all grown accustomed to this voice. But yeah, we're so thrilled to have him on the podcast with us. I apologize in advance for mispronouncing your name throughout the entirety of the podcast. So Julia, perhaps you can give me one more go at how it's properly pronounced, and then I will do my best to Americanize it.
We could also say hello, Michael, and give him a chance to pronounce his own name if he wants to.
No, that's true. That's true. We have to play nice in the sandbox.
Hi, Michael.
Hi.
How are you doing today?
Yeah, hi. Thanks for having me. So I'm finally stepping out of the shadows.
You are.
I was always visible as the weird guy in the LinkedIn post that asked weird questions.
True.
Whoops.
So how do you pronounce your name?
So you did it just right. Michael Prattes.
You want to give it a go?
Mikhail? Is that
Almost?
Almost? Okay. I feel it's the ending. Mikhail?
That sounds a bit Russian.
Like the beginning too with the...
That's Oh no.
Mikhail.
We can't go to the Russian stuff. Oh.
But Michael is fine. I'm going with Michael at work, so that's absolutely fine.
Michael is fine.
There we go. So to our listeners out there, Michael is the one who has gifted us with our very beautiful logo, and Sir Anoxalot and his cousin Santa Anoxalot, and the not yet revealed cousin of Sheriff Anoxalot. And I think Michael has some other ideas as well. And in real life, Michael used to be a scientist as well. I mean, I think you still kind of are. But Michael did his PhD and postdoc at the University of Graz, and he worked a lot with ribosome biogenesis and different factors involved in that. I'm sure he'll tell us all about it afterwards. But he then ventured out of science and completed a graphic design education and is now working in science communication at a biobank. So that is quite the unusual career path, I think. Michael, do you want to tell us or give us your own short overview over whatever path brought you to this very moment?
Sure. But first I want to assure you that there are more Anoxalot family members coming. So the family is definitely growing. As soon as I have more time on my hands, then more things will come, and we will maybe expand the merch collection a bit.
Nice. We love to hear that.
And yes, in my former life, I was a scientist, as I said, doing research in ribosome biogenesis for more than 10 years. So the whole academic career path from undergrad, graduate, PhD, postdoc. But at some point, this quite narrow career path, which would then lead to PI and group leader and whatnot, was not feeling very right for me, because I felt and I realized doing science is interesting, but talking about science and making cool stuff with scientific results is even more fun. And already during the postdoc time, I've done some science communication projects with science to public communication. But now I'm actually not primarily employed as a science communicator. This is part of my role, but my role is a media relations specialist at BBMRI ERIC, and it is also not technically a biobank. It is a European biobank network.
Oops, I'm sorry, I didn't do my homework.
So we are a European organization, and ERIC is a format for European infrastructure organizations, like Instruct ERIC for structural biology, and there are around 30 around. And we are one infrastructure organization that builds infrastructure for biobanks in Europe. So collections of human samples, DNA, tissue, everything you can get from a human that is lying around in biobanks all over Europe. This is very valuable stuff for research. So a lot of research projects really need these samples and data. And what we are doing is that we are connecting the biobanks and making the samples and data they have there available for researchers in a secure and responsible way. So not everybody can get human samples if they want to, but if they have a good research project that has a benefit for society, then they can get access via us. And I'm in my role doing a lot of communication for us as an organization. So communication to our community, which is around 4,000 people all over Europe, working in the biobanks and the researchers. I'm doing communication inside our organization. And I also do some science communication projects. So for example, one project we had where researchers could apply for cancer research grants, and then I've visualized their research and their research projects to communicate that. So science communication is part of my work now, but it's not the sole focus, let's say.
Yeah, I like how you said that, Michael, that it's not necessarily the sole focus. I think oftentimes, perhaps in previous iterations or generations of scientists, I think the idea of science communication was probably not as big a piece of the puzzle as it is now. I think in decades previous, it was simply manuscript drafting, get the paper in, get the paper published, secure grants, and then that was sort of the end of it.
Go to conferences.
Yeah, oh yeah, of course, go to conferences. And I think now I don't want to say that it's implied, but I'm even seeing now, like looking at calls for proposals and things like that, where in the documentation, they're now even asking for like outreach components or community engagement components or things of that sort. And so all of that to say is you're totally still a scientist. Don't let Julia bully you. And but I think that's really cool. And I love the idea of biobanks. Julia and I, we've talked a handful of times about how we need those, but for like animals. So we need you to get on that. We need capybaras. We need degus. we need all those.
I mean,
animals.
to be fair, we don't need every part of the animal to be a sample. But I mean, other scientists might. We're just very interested in one single sample type.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But I do have a question about the biobanks just in general. So you mentioned that it's kind of selective in a sense of like not everybody can have access to every sample all the time. How do you determine, like if two different people want the same sample, do they get equal portions of the sample, or how does splitting that up work if there's like two people fighting for the same thing? Or is that ever even the case?
I have to say I'm not aware of a case where people were fighting over a sample. It may happen, but I'm just not aware of it. And the thing is, what you as a researcher can do with a sample, and if you get access, depends on what you're planning with it, and also what the person who gave the sample consented to. Because that's a big issue, because when you give a sample, you can, as a donor, you can, of course, have a say in what happens with the sample. And the big thing is informed consent, that you explained to you what is happening with the sample, and then you can say yes or no. And then what researchers do with it has, of course, fit that purpose or should match that purpose. But that's actually a big issue that was a lot of research going on, is how you properly explain people what is happening with the sample now and potentially in the future, because in a year there could be a new method that you could do something completely different with the sample, and you still have to inform the person well enough so they can make an informed decision what happens with their blood or their tissue sample.
Is it possible as a biobank, like, or as a network, to provide the means to track down owners of sample and get another additional consent to do additional stuff?
There is a model that is being researched that is dynamic consent. So that consent is not just one signature at the beginning, but it is something that can change over time. But this is also difficult from a practical point of view. But we have a big department for ethical, legal, and societal issues who do research in that part and get general in the community. There's a lot of discussion and research going on to see how there can be the best compromise between securing the rights of the person and their sensitive data, because it's also a lot about data, not only the samples. But on the other side, the benefit for research that is definitely there. So that there is a need for a good middle ground.
As always, I guess. And maybe just for our listeners and maybe for Sam, I don't know if you even know that, but Michael and I know each other because I did my master thesis in the same lab that he was doing his PhD work. So we were both working on ribosomal biogenesis, which is a lot of molecular biology work. I can also see you have like this beautiful structure of, I'm guessing it's one of your it's a triple ATPase thing. Because Michael also, like his PhD work was actually resolving the structure of one of the triple ATPases involved in ribosomal biogenesis, especially the mechanism of inhibition from one of the inhibitors that they were using. Very interesting stuff, but very technical and very like molecular biology focused. How the hell did you end up at a biobank network?
That is a good question that I get asked a lot. It was quite a big jump from my previous position at the university doing research to what I do now. So from a thematical point of view, there is no real overlap. So I have to be honest, before I applied for this job, I've never heard about PPMRI. I did not know that this network exists and did not know a lot about biobanks. But it was more the things that I wanted to do. So being in a communications jobs, being able to apply my graphic design skills, that brought me there, because my contract at the university was ending and I was sure I didn't want to stay in academia, not because I didn't like the topic, but the conditions didn't feel right, and I also knew I didn't want to go the route to PI, and there were no science communication positions at the university. They are coming now in Austria, so there are positions coming for that purpose. But when I left university, people were doing this as a freelance job, but only a few. So there was not a really well-developed market for science communication as a full-time job, let's say. If there would have been, I might have stayed at the university. So then I just looked for jobs that are at the intersection between science, because I knew I wanted to do something with science. I didn't want to leave that part completely behind, but as I said, in a communications role. And then luckily I saw this job opening, I was very pleased that our headquarters is in Graz, my hometown, so I didn't have to move. And now I'm here for 2 years now, and I have really learned a lot of new stuff, things that I had no idea before. Audio recording, audio editing. I've never done interviews before, but now it's part of my job. So it's a lot of learning by doing. Now I'm learning things and developing skills that I think are a much better fit for what I want to do and what I can do, let's say. I was always felt not completely in the right place when I was still doing research in academia.
Interesting. I imagine many people might feel that way. Sam and I talked about this in other episodes too. In academia, you have to be a jack of all trades all the time. Like, especially as a PhD student, you get thrown all of these different jobs and you just have to do them. And they might not fit your skill set or whatever you want to do, what you're naturally drawn to. So I was wondering if you can share some insights into how to figure out what it is that you were drawn to, and then like kind of tease out what the job might look like that you want in the future. Or was it just a happy coincidence that this job came along and you thought, oh man, yes, I could do that?
It was a coincidence that the job was free, but it was not a coincidence that I landed a communications job. And this is something that really made sense retrospectively. I didn't fully understand it during the process maybe, but especially during my postdoc years, I was constantly thinking, okay, what could I do in the long run? I had my contracts that were going for half a year and sometimes a year or 2 years. And I was not unhappy about that because I felt I had to go somewhere else. So I was fine for a certain amount of time. And when I looked back at my PhD time and then the postdoc years, I realized that I was, without knowing it, without doing it consciously, I was shifting my activities more and more. Because I realized that it was much more fun for me to design a poster or a presentation or graphics for a paper than being in the lab and doing the actual lab work. It's not that I didn't like lab work. It was interesting and I wouldn't want to miss those years, but it's not where I could do my best and where I was the best help for our group, I would say, because there were people in our lab who could do the experience much faster and cleaner and more reproducibly than I could. And I realized I was much more benefit for our group, and it was much more fun for me when I could do the writing, the design, communications in different other ways. When we had a press release for a paper or making promotional trailers for a paper or something. And this was something that no one told you at our universities, that no one told you that this is also something that is important, that you need to present your research properly, that you have to present it in a way that people want to look at it, that they want to see your graphic and they are able to understand it without being in the same exact niche you are. So making it not only look nice, but really make it in a way that the information is conveyed easily. And I realized that I was shifting my focus much more towards these activities. And this was really a realization process, because I wasn't doing it, as I said, on purpose, but I just drifted naturally in that direction. And then I started to work on my skills. I took the chance to do science communication projects. And by this, I developed my skills as a science communicator, or general as a communicator. And I think that would also be my advice, or what I could tell people who might be in a similar position, that you observe yourself when you're working and try to figure out what of those things you like to do and you're good at. Because I have a bit of a problem with the notion that a PhD student has to be perfect in everything that they do. You have to do so many different things. You're doing the lab work, you're doing writing, you're doing tutoring, you have to present it. You have to learn lab management skills and everything. And I also thought back then that you have to be good at all of this. But now, with looking back, I have a different view that you won't be perfect in all of this, but you can figure out what you are good at. And this will give you a direction where you're searching. And for a long time, I had the impression that there are not a lot of jobs for PhDs in molecular biology. You can go the academic route, or you can go to industry and maybe have a research position there, but many people do something completely different in the industry. They're having quality management jobs in a pharma company or something. And for a long time, I thought there are only these two ways. You have to decide between one of those. And only later I realized that with your PhD, with all the things you learn, you have so many skills that can be used in many different fields. You're not learning only the experiments you do and your one topic that you work on. You have acquire a lot of different skills that you can do in various different areas.
Preach.
And I think that is something that you need to be aware of, because then when I started to look for jobs, I realized that there are more positions that might not be the perfect fit in the long run, but it can be a good entry point for another direction. And yet you don't have to stay in a job forever. You can go in one direction, learn new skills that gives you more possibilities for the next step. And this is something that no one told us. So at least when I was studying, when I was doing PhD in postdoc, no one was talking about that. Everyone was just talking about, you have to publish, you have to go to conferences, and you have to do the checklist for becoming a PI. You have to find a junior group leader position there, and when you're too old, you can't get it anymore. But no one talks about all the other things you can do with the skills you learn.
I wonder.
That's a pity.
Is it the same in the US? Because I mean, I'm nodding along. Like I also did my PhD in Austria, like up to my PhD, so it's been the same for me. I don't know if is it the same in the US, Sam?
I think it would be, my experience would be very similar to the experience that you both had. And maybe part of that is just because we're all ballpark the same age. Like, I don't know if there are just changing times coming in the future where this will be more integrated just because of the passage of time. But what I recall is basically nothing at all during my master's when I did that. I essentially looked at my master's as like a springboard into my PhD because I sort of went to college. Not many people in my family had been to college. And then I thought, man, I really want to be like a teacher, but I want to be like a university teacher. I want to be a professor. And they were like, oh, you got to go get a PhD. And so for me, I thought, there's no way I can do a PhD. I don't even know what research is, because at that point in my life, I thought, like, you just take harder courses and take harder exams. And then that was like a PhD. The tests just got harder. I had no idea that it was about like generating original data and contributing to the expansion of knowledge and all of this stuff. So like my master's, it was literally just tunnel vision. Can Sam do the PhD or not do it? And then I perhaps naively thought I could at the end of my master's. But when I got to my PhD, I think I was lucky to be in one of the first cohorts at OU, so the University of Oklahoma. And in the department at that time, we were trying to do what they called professional development. And so I give them credit for trying, but it wasn't fantastic. There was an attempt there to try to like answer some multiple choice type questions to try to help give you an idea of like there are other things out there other than just being like a professor or, going straight into industry. But beyond that, there really wasn't much that was offered. There were a few times where I sat in and listened to some invited speakers that had come to campus, either in my department or in like another neighboring department. But yeah, really outside of that, I don't think I got much exposure to the idea of there being like a very wide net with almost endless possibilities, like Michael was saying, where you can use any of those gigantic repertoire of tools that you've been honing over the course of your PhD and then apply them to, something else. And so I think that's a long-winded way of me saying, like, no, I think it was pretty much the same.
But sorry.
We'll cut all the part before that out and we'll just leave in. No, it's pretty much the same.
Yeah. Hey, that works. That works. Man.
I think things are changing a bit, at least in the last years. So when I was still a postdoc, there were more courses that you can do, for example, in leadership skills or how to guide people through their PhD thesis. So things that were not a thing many years ago. And for example, in 2 weeks, I will be speaking at a career symposium on the Medical University Graz, which is for the PhD students, which is called What You Can Do With Your PhD. So there will be science communication people, there will be people from industry, from academia, from NGOs. So I think the younger generation, which I almost am still part of.
We all almost are still part of it.
Oh.
They see things a bit differently, I think, in things of career development, but also in work-life balance during a PhD or in academia, which is something that when I was still in my master's and PhD, there was still people did not say it like that, but it was, okay, you have to work as much as you can, and you do it for the science, or you do it for your own purpose or for higher things, so don't complain about working at late nights or on the weekend. But I've met a couple younger people who were in our lab during their master's thesis or for a project who had a much more realistic view on how they want to work. They know, okay, they are interested, they want to work on their project, but at a certain point, they also want to go home and want to have a life.
How dare they?
And And as many people, had to learn this the hard way. And at the end of my PhD, where I really had health problems and was just trying to get it done somehow in some way. And only later I started to think more about that stuff and reflect more on how you can work effectively and how you can work for a long time without ruining your health and your mental health. And I met a couple of young people who were much more aware of that already. So I had the feeling that they won't fall into the same trap.
Hopefully.
This might just
Good
be
for them.
the wisdom episode. I'm thinking this is.
Oh yeah.
These are some wise words.
It really is.
Yeah.
Work effectively and sustainably.
Yeah. Sustainably. Effectively is not the hard one. It's the sustainably one. It's the hard one. Oh. Yeah. Well, Michael, you sort of touched on this earlier when you were talking about getting into science communication and some of the things that you really enjoyed doing. But I'm curious, is there a particular facet of your job or of science communication in general that you enjoy most? Like, do you have a favorite part?
Yeah, I would say I have a bit of a speciality, let's say, and this developed naturally during my research time, because what I haven't talked about yet is, or what Julia mentioned, I was doing structural biology, which was not what I was doing originally. So in my first years I was doing biochemistry, molecular biology, but at some point we wanted to have a structure of our favorite protein and we wanted to do it ourselves. And then we tried crystallography and later cryo-EM, and luckily it worked after 10 years or so. But the good thing about structural biology, it is much more visual. When you have a structure of a protein, you see something. You don't have a band on a Western blot or a colony on a plate. You have something that can look very, very pleasing. And for me, I'm a very visual person. And looking at the protein structure helped me a lot to understand what is going on. And I just spend a lot of time to make nice graphics with protein structures. And this also helped me develop more graphic design skills. And at some point, I started doing 3D renderings of protein structures, but not only in a strictly scientific way, but in a rather fun way, as I did, for example, cinematic teaser videos for our papers that are not scientifically correct, but they are just meant to, when people see them on LinkedIn or so, that they might get curious what happens in the paper. So this is something that is not something that I do in my job now, but it's something that I still do in my free time. I'm still working on 3D rendering projects with proteins I worked on, but I'm always looking about through new papers and new structures of proteins and complexes to see, okay, what can I do with this nice structure?
Nice.
And so this shift from molecular biology or biochemistry to structural biology also nudged me a bit more into that direction, because just the visual aspect was, I felt really attracted to the visual aspect of it. Mm-hmm. As I said, I'm a visual person, and a Western blot can be very exciting when the results are right, but it's still
I think we need to
black bands on a background.
We need to talk about that very in there. Exciting, maybe? Very, I don't know.
If it's the one band you want to see for experiment, then it can be exciting, but it's not that visually pleasing. Let's put it like that.
Yeah.
No, I like how you ended that off with like visually pleasing. Oh, that is something that I do wish would dramatically improve in my life, is my ability to be a little bit more aesthetically pleasing as I'm trying to jot things down.
Well, you might be drawn to other parts of the PhD and postdoc life. Your skills might lie in another part of that.
PCR. Oh.
Yeah, but good visual content does not need to start out nicely. It can start with a scribble on a paper to get the idea, and then you can when I work on something, it's always a lot of iterations. At the beginning, it often looks like shit or something, a drawing of a child. But then I'm the person, I don't have a perfect plan when I start something, but it's always developing in the process. And so it starts with very little, and then it develops. And it does not always work out, but
Are there people with plans before they start?
That-
Like, is that a thing? Because I see us three nodding, and I think it's not a thing in this room.
I've heard they exist.
Oh,
Something that was
Wow.
also a point for me when I'm working on something graphical that was something that drew me a bit away from the research work was at some point you're so specialized in what you do that you are really focused on the tiniest details. So I was working with one protein for many, many years, and it was really down to, okay, what does this one single residue in the protein do at this step? And what happens when I exchange this one residue or this one amino acid against another? And this is interesting when you want to know what happens with the protein, but it interests the 5 other people that are working with this protein, but it's not interesting for anyone besides that. And if you want to make it interesting, you have to boil it down to the idea behind it. I always wanted to take a step back from the details because I didn't want to always be focused on these little details. I wanted to have something that has a idea, a story behind it. When I started doing presentations during my undergrad studies, at the beginning it was horrible. I was really, really bad at speaking. But then I found out how I have to prepare it, that I can turn it into a story that people want to listen to with a few jokes in the right places. And then it started to work out, and now I like it. Now it's fun to give presentations because I found the process for me to make it fun and bring it away from very, very technical details to the idea behind it and the story behind it.
Mm-hmm. With all the things that we talked about before, you mentioned you did some videos for your, like trailer videos for your papers that might make people interested into reading your paper and stuff like that. With all of this, I would count that as social media content if it goes up at LinkedIn. Do you think that it is very important for every scientist in academia or in industry to be active on social media? And I do count LinkedIn as social media, although I know it's like the more professional social media.
I mean, I wouldn't say that every scientist, every researcher needs to do it. Actually, when I opened my first Twitter account only 4 years ago or so, when Twitter was still Twitter, I did it because I found out that in the structural biology community, there's a lot of things happening there because the people were active. They posted publications, they posted job openings, they posted new techniques, new tools for data processing. So this was a really, really valuable source of information. And I think you don't need to be active in a sense that you self-post all the time. If that's not something you like to do, then I don't think it's essential. Mm-hmm. If you really want to be visible, you have to post a lot. But even if you're just there watching and listening, you can really, really get a lot of information much more quickly than on any other channel. And so I'm not on Twitter anymore, but still Blue Sky, and the community is, I think, smaller, but they're still very active. So they're still, you're just more at the pulse of what's happening in the community. And I know it from the structural biology community, so the cryo community, but I would assume that it's similar for other fields. Mm-hmm. So this is very valuable. And as I said, you don't need to really post. You can just be there listening, and you might find a good postdoc opening somewhere, or you might find a new tool that you can need, or I always find new interesting protein structures that I want to do things with. It is very, very helpful, I think. Mm-hmm. And if you want to be active, you can still promote your stuff, and then some people can do it very well. I'm also not that active personally. I do it for my job because we have multiple social media presences for our organization. But for myself, privately, I'm not really active. So I'm just observing what's happening.
Interesting. So could be helpful, but you don't think it's necessary to advance your career in research?
I think it can definitely help. I mean, it might not be the only way. When you're going to a lot of conferences and you're good at networking in person, that's also a very, very good option. Really.
So be honest with yourself. Decide if you're an in-person person or an online present person.
Yeah.
Audio or video, and then do that.
Man,
Yeah, it gives you more options. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Julia, I don't know if I ever told you this story about my advisor in my undergrad, but I was attempting to apply for some jobs and she told me, she was like, "Oh, Sam, like it's a good thing that this is an in-person interview. You're very much an in-person kind of person." And I looked at her and I was like, I think I'm going to take that as a compliment. And I secretly think that what she meant is I'm just horrible at writing emails. And so it was like, you'll do better if you're in a physical presence of these other people. But I digress.
That's nicer than hearing you might be doing better if you're writing an email to those people. I think that way around is that is more hurtful.
Well, I will say that was an interesting thought for me to come to the realization, like Michael was saying just now, that the whole social media phenomenon, like it requires regular maintenance, right? It's not necessarily just you post, like he said, like once a year, once even a month or something like that. And I found myself in a position in my PhD where people were telling me like, "Oh, like you don't have a very big internet presence, Sam. Like I don't see your social media stuff." And I'm like, "Okay."
You didn't say I'm a conference person?
No, I left that out. And because in my head it was like, oh, well, like the lab work will speak for itself. And I think, in some ways it certainly does. And I agree with Michael. I don't think you necessarily need social media. But I think that if used appropriately, it's a very important tool in the toolbox of a scientist. And I remember, again, similarly too, like back when Twitter was Twitter, I made it a goal to do. I was like, oh, I'll post just once a week. It'll just be a picture with a little explanation of like, this is this assay. These are what these colors mean. They look like jelly beans. This is fun. Here's an alpaca. Here's this. And like I was okay for a while. And then I fell off the bandwagon and I didn't post for probably, I don't know, 18 months or something like that. And then But I told myself when I got to the postdoc, I was like, you're going to do it, Sam. You're going to post once a week, no matter what, on LinkedIn. And I sort of abandoned my other social media profiles. And I was like, I will do it. I will commit to one a week, which is probably still not enough. But yeah, that's sort of where I'm at. Julia, are you a very avid LinkedIn social media poster person? Outside of your life unculturable responsibilities and duties?
Honestly, I go through phases there. I do sometimes have phases where I post a lot, but publicly not so much. I have a private Instagram account that I sometimes post a lot in, and then again, not at all. And then I do have like that WhatsApp account that I sometimes like keep my family and friends updated. But also there's like phases. Sometimes I have the energy to actually share something because it takes a while. Like you think, oh, I could share that, and then you have to take the picture, take the video, think of a text that goes along with it. So it just takes a while. But yeah, as in like scientific, I don't think so. I think Life Unculturable is the most in scientific posting that I have done. Funnily enough, Sam, before I came to Oklahoma State, I actually was nearly accepted into a social media person / podcast person for a research institution in Vienna. Like I had like 3 rounds of interviews, was nearly there, and then they chose the other person. Like, and now I'm doing it anyways, just not paid.
Wow, you got the good end of that deal, so.
Yeah, just I don't know why that just popped into my head, but I was like, yeah, true, there was this application.
And it's funny that you say that. I might have told you this, but it was right before you were getting ready to leave, and I had seen an opportunity come up on social media, oddly enough, for basically a science communicator type role at a particular company that shall remain nameless, but they love to sequence things. But it was cool because in the posting they were because usually when I see like job postings, it's like must be 1% expert in And then it's like 5,000 different things. You got to do cryo-EM, flow cytometry. You have to have put your foot on the moon. And I'm like, I don't got any of this stuff. And this posting, it was just like, can you make science jokes? Can you talk about science in a funny way? And I was like, are they talking to me? But it was so cool to see
the jokes have to be funny to everybody or just to myself?
You know, that's one of those beauties in the eye of the beholder type situations. But I thought it was so cool to see that pop up as like that was the job. You know, it wasn't, we need you in the lab sequencing things. We need you doing QC or fixing equipment, you know, whatever. The job was just talk about science, post about it, you know, and obviously whatever they have going on contextually to sort of understand that and be able to impart whatever it is on lay people. And I'm like, oh, that's really, really cool. And I think, like Michael said, that's a really important thing, whether it's at a, you know, an institution or a company, or to have somebody that's like that person, that go-between that can communicate those things. And like he said, just let the other people do like what they do best. But alas, here we are. We're still doing this. And I'm not with I'm not with that company. But to be fair, I told myself I didn't want to apply for it.
Would that job have been like in a different state?
It would have been, yeah. It would have been based out on the west coast of the States. So,
that would have been hard with like a family and all.
Yeah, it would have been a big move.
Well, I mean, we've established it's not necessarily mandatory to have social media present as a researcher. But to you, maybe if like somebody would start out, let's say a PhD or a postdoc would start out to like want to be present on LinkedIn and have a social media present, what would be, in your mind, the worst possible way to go about it? Like, what are the steps that you absolutely should not do?
And please do not say what Life Unculturable did for the first.
Because that falls back on you as well, Mr. Ask Weird Questions on LinkedIn.
Yeah, I think there are a couple of nice things that you can do to make it really horrible. I think it would be good to not at all look at what other people are doing and what works well. Just ignore everything and everyone. And then just put out long rants of text. So don't waste time on shortening and making it nice. Just put out a lot of text. No images or no videos, just crappy images at best. And write shitty replies to other posts maybe.
So we're saying that platypus comment that I left on the National Geographic channel the other day. Oh, wait, I can't say it. That was left by somebody, not me, was probably not.
I think at this point, our listeners can probably tell by the comment who of us left it.
I will say that it's very easy for me to tell just because of how we write, like who wrote what. It's one of those where you're like you're the TA with all the undergrads, and you're like, oh yeah, little Johnny, they tend to write like this, and Susie writes like that. And it's so obvious to me when it's like, oh yeah, numbskull, like you wrote that one, or Julia wrote this one, and it's, whoops, my bad.
But I don't think people will be mad if you leave a comment, because it is so much about interaction. So the algorithms on all the platforms, they look if people click on your content, if they reply, if they like it, if they share it very early on. Even if you write a shitty comment, people are happy that you comment on it, because it gives visibility. And even especially when you're have a niche topic where you don't have a lot of interaction, a lot of people talking about it, then it's really hard to gain traction with a post. And then I think every comment, every share also helps. And it's still no guarantee, because the algorithms change all the time, and what works best today can be difficult next week. And this is really a science for itself. And I am definitely not a social media person by training, but I think if you really want to make it good, then you can invest a lot of time in really analyzing how to post, when to post, how to interact. And yeah, if you want to do this for organization, also this is a full-time job.
Mm-hmm. So your platypus comment might just have been read by the people at National Geographic, but maybe nobody else.
Well, if they send me fecal samples, I'll be happy. And I'll just leave it at that. I mean, that was adorable. Very high quality pictures. They were obviously following Michael's advice there. The post was short and sweet. great media content. They just weren't ready for the 17th comment left on that post that day. So. But to be fair, I try not to do that on the LinkedIn accounts, which is something that I was going to pick Michael's brain about, is that I think anecdotally I noticed that even the way in which content is presented across the different social media platforms tends to differ a little bit. Like it obviously, YouTube is video stuff, but even if you're just posting like pictures, say on LinkedIn versus Instagram versus Blue Sky or whatever, there's some inherent limitations to each, like the character limit on Blue Sky kind of forces you in a way to be short and succinct. But do you, as you're involved in these social media outreach campaigns through your work, do you spend a lot of time like formulating different posts and sort of tailoring them to a particular platform?
Yeah, definitely. So for us, the main channels for our organization and also some of the projects we're involved in, its main channels are LinkedIn. I personally first write a post for LinkedIn as a starting point, because you have more characters, you can go a bit more into detail. But then I, especially for Blue Sky, you have to shorten it down very, very harshly, which can take some time. What we not do is really have different messages for different channels. We have the same messages. We try to wrap it a bit differently. And that is something that we will want to expand in the next months and year, maybe, that we go more on Instagram, for example, and have different content there. We could spend a lot more time on that. For example, when you're posting on Instagram, you have to be aware how your grid looks like of the post, that you design not the post for itself, but how it looks compared to the one before and to after, that the grid as a whole looks nice. But yeah, we don't have time to treat it as a full-time job and really tailor every message to every different audience. So we don't have the resources that one person is fully on social media all the time, because we have a lot of different things that we do. If we really would want to tailor everything to every audience on every channel, that the work would explode. But we try. We try to, when we prepare graphics, that we choose a format that is a compromise between the different platforms so that it works well everywhere. It might not be perfect for every individual channel, but at least it works there, so that we don't have to prepare 5 graphics for 5 different channels. And yeah, it is still sometimes it's still a mystery what works best. For example, we had a conference in May that we organize, and we had a lot of communication before, communicating when it happens, who will be the speakers, teasing a lot, informing the people, and the posts that then during the conference really went well with a couple hundred views, which is good for our reach. Was a 10-second drone video that we took while we were gathering the people for a group shot outside the Congress hall. It's not very special content. It's just people standing there and waving, but still, that is something that worked very well. So.
Interesting.
Yeah, and my colleague wrote a nice text. I think she wrote something like, this year we upgraded to drone mode to get everyone in the picture. And I think this is something lighthearted that people like. I mean, very often posts get very, very serious, very dry and heavy. And on the one hand, you need to be careful what information you convey and how you present it. But still, the audience are people who don't want to have serious stuff all the time. Even when it's work related, it's nice when it's presented in a lighthearted tone and voice, and it's just it relaxes a bit, I guess. So you have to be careful not to make it ridiculous. It should be suited to your organization or your company, your product, whatever. So there are different levels how funny you can make it, I guess. But for me personally, I don't think that being too serious all the time works, because people get bored and don't want to read serious stuff all the time.
Yes. I mean, no, I like to read serious stuff all the time because we're professional scientists. There's no fun allowed.
Oh, I don't even know why I'm thinking about this right now. It's semi off topic, but I'll tie it in at the end. with my kids, like when they were younger, because they love being like read to, and it's, you have your traditional children's stories and whatnot. But I would, as I was in grad school, I would obviously have like lots of emails, and I would have like papers to read and things like that. And so sometimes I would find myself like on the couch, and then I would be reading through like, oh, here's the latest and greatest, whatever article on Clostridium fill in the blank. And of course they have no idea what's going on. They're just sitting there like, oh yeah. But anyway, I digress. Funny is good. That's what I'm going to take away from this. Funny is good. So there's hope for us.
Did it put them to sleep?
No, it didn't. No, it didn't.
So they might become scientists because they were interested from the start in Clostridia.
Maybe that was the plan the whole time. Maybe that was. But no, it's quite funny now. They love the Life Unculturable T-shirts. Like whenever I wear them, they're like, "Oh, Daddy, that's your bacteria shirt." And I'm like, "Yeah, it is." And they're like, "Bacteria have eyeballs?" And I'm like, "Well, this one does," But it's so funny. They'll be like, "What bacteria did you grow today?" And I'll be like, "Well, have you heard of fill in the blank bacteroides?" And they're like, "Bacteroides?" I'm like, "Yep." So they're gonna be fun and primary school when they get there. It's gonna be rough.
My daddy doesn't like Neocalamastigomycota.
I mean, they've probably heard him say that. Oh, and Julia, I don't know if Michael knows much of the backstory behind like the Life Unculturable logo before he designed the actual logo. But
before he did a good job on it.
Yeah, before he did a good job on it, exactly. Yeah, so as Julia and I were trying in the beginning to come up with, like, first off, a name. We're like, we have no idea how to name a podcast. And we had some ideas, and then it was like, okay, we think we've got a name, but now we need like some sort of a logo or a mascot or something like that. And so we took two vastly different approaches to equally horrible destinations. And Julia, I remember you sort of went with like hard into the AGF, into like BioRender, and you were trying and making these little things, and then I was just over there having a full-on seance with AI, being like, okay, I want this, give him a butane torch, do this, put a beanie hat on the guy, and then like, and then it's like, oh, the color, what the heck color is it? And I think out of all of that stuff, I don't know if we have that in a folder somewhere. That would be hilarious if we did, because there were some rough ones, and but I think the only thing that we ever came close with anything was like that greenish, tealish color that is still sort of on there. But yeah, aside from that, folks, we owe everything artistic respectfully to Michael, because Julia and I, we don't. Well, I'll just talk about myself. Yeah. I don't possess. Oh
no, you
gene.
Can talk about the both of us. It's fine.
Yeah, we're
there was no hope.
we're absolutely helpless children. I mean, we're not even children. We're like rabid animals trying to color with colored pencils. Like it was not good. So a sincere thank you is what I'm trying to say. We really appreciate the time and the effort that went in to make that the super cool logos that you've made.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, because I really like those projects where I myself don't know which direction it is going visually, but it really helps a lot, I think, for every graphic design project, when you have a good brief, when you have a good concept that you can work with. And this was the case for Life Unculturable, because when you have a very, very non-tangible, non-graspable concept, this is where it becomes really hard, because what you produce and what the person has imagined be very, very different things.
And I think that's sort of what we wanted, because I know at one point Julia and I, we were talking, and it was like, should we send him like the stuff that we've already tried to make? And we were just like, no. Just no, not even close. Just like let that artistic mind run wild, and then we'll start from there. Like we don't need to corrupt whatever's going on.
Yes.
Oh.
To be fair, I think I shared one of those graphic images with you. That was even before we decided to just ask for help because we were hopeless.
Oh,
I was messaging him, "Hey, we're doing this podcast thing, and this is what we got." I wonder if I like rage, like if I hadn't, like if we hadn't asked you to like do this properly, would that have worked? As in like rage baiting you to ask, to be able to do it better? That's how I felt at that point. I was like sending you bad AI stuff.
Yeah, could be.
Could be.
But yeah.
Oh.
I remember the first draft you sent was already so perfect, and we were like so thrown away by it. Yes.
Yeah.
And then
But it still
you made it even better.
But it still looked different, and we went through a couple of
yeah.
iterations together.
Yes. Yes. But yeah, every one of those I think could have been perfectly fine. But yeah.
Yeah. But as I said earlier, I think these iterations are very important because it might look nice on the first or second try, but if you then ask people who have not seen it yet and they look at it and say, okay, this works for me, this doesn't work for me, this is very valuable input because when I work on something, I get a bit lost in the details then and have a very narrow view then. And then it's harder to see the bigger picture at some point, and then it's very, very important that other people look at it as well.
Yeah. Oh. And I think when it really took off was when you pitched the idea of Suranoxolot. Because like at the moment you had this microbe in, I think that's when we were all on board and we were like just throwing ideas back and forth of how we can like develop this, and you would just like go in and do those crazy things and give us Suranoxolot, and then in short succession Santa and Oxalot, because it was right around Christmas. That was crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This adorable little hairy light bulb.
I will say, when I wear those shirts out in public now, people do oftentimes mistake me for an electrician. And so someone, like if I get stopped, they're like, oh, like cool shirt. And I'm like, oh, thanks. And they're like, so electrician? And I'm like, no. But that always makes me laugh. Oh my gosh. I'm like, not quite. Ugh.
Let's have you back on soon, and then maybe we get to talk about Suranoxolot or the Anoxolot family and the graphics and the merch.
Yeah, happy to come back, yeah.
I mean, for our listeners, Michael is not going away. He's still actively participating in everything we do. He's just less visible to the outside.
Yes.
Usually.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, this is sort of like one of those moments where, like, I remember when I first joined the lab, I would talk about like, oh yeah, my wife, my kids, we're doing this weekend, we're doing that this weekend, but like nobody had ever seen them, right? And they're like, Sam, do they even exist? Are you even married? Do you even have kids? Is this all a big front? We have now officially proven to the world,
Michael does exist. He might be a chatbot, an AI chatbot, but he does exist.
There we go.
An AI chatbot that doesn't like AI.
And that it does actually produce incredible graphics with no errors.
I wouldn't say that.
Oh, well, this was nice.
Yeah.
It
was really nice talking to you. And we've talked a lot about science communication and all, but in the beginning, we also talked about blood banks and biobanks and biobank networks. So is there like a specific place where people can go that would be interested in like obtaining samples or interacting with biobanks and biobank networks?
I think the best place to start is our website, gbmri-eric.eu. Mm-hmm. And same on our LinkedIn channel. And we are a European network, but we're not, what I wouldn't say, we're not exclusively European. We also have countries outside of Europe that are joining us and working with us. So we're constantly growing.
Oh, and speaking of growing things, Julia, our internet presence is also growing. And for those of you that haven't already hopped on the Life Unculturable social media train, by all means, feel free to do that. We're all over the place. We've got LinkedIn, Blue Sky, Instagram, YouTube, all the places where you can get podcasts, Spotify, Audible, Apple Podcasts. We're all over the place. And we thank you for hanging in there. Thank you for hanging out. And I think we'll be in your ears pretty soon here on Life Unculturable.
I missed my mark.
Oh,
like now I'm not the only one who can
my
miss the
God.
mark.
We try to do all three at the same time. We might just break.
I was not prompted, so I was not instructed.
This is how the Big Bang happened
It's all never
originally.
instructed. Like all in the eyes. You have to like see the little eyebrow flash.
Oh, that's what it is.
But I think it was a nice ending.
Yeah.
Well, I'm thinking that was a nice ending. Having that like little outro and then Michael saying this was a nice ending. Bye everybody.